Hi friends, Adelita here from Adelita Montero Live. And today I want to share with you something that I really love and that has made a big difference in my life in understanding myself and understanding my emotions. So I realized that I didn't really know how to manage my emotions. The family that I came from, nobody knew how to manage their emotions. So we sort of like yelled and screamed and blamed and um, avoided and didn't really know how to deal with conflicts in a healthy way. So I had to grow up and figure it out for myself. So it's been a lot of like trial and errors. And eventually, through doing a lot of a personal development seminar I did in Northern California called the Hoffman process. We went through a series of developing exercises and personal growth, working on our patterns from childhood and where we learned negative traits from family and where they came from and how to acknowledge them, be aware of them, and eventually release them, right? Through several practices like journaling, maybe talking about it, and understanding that our parents were doing the best they could with what they had. So eventually you have to learn compassion and empathy and forgive them because they were doing the best they could with what they got from their parents. So at some point somebody has to forgive somebody so that so there's healing in the family and everybody grows. So I didn't know how to manage my emotions. And when you get into relationships, that's when these things come up, right? So you start dating, and then 6 months into it, it's the honeymoon phase. And then after that, that's when the patterns start to come out. So what are patterns? There are emotional patterns from your childhood that you picked up unconsciously from your parents, from society, from movies. So this romantic notion, you live happily ever after. No, it's not quite like that. You're gonna wait for a prince to come and rescue the princess, and the princess it's helpless, and this whole fantasy and all the songs that we listen is programming our mind with all this incredibly dysfunctional uh, information, really. So unconsciously we're carrying all this you know uh, incorrect information, to say the least. So you have to be aware of that and realize that if I don't learn to manage my emotions, if I don't get in touch with my emotions, if I don't learn to feel and label my emotions, then when you get into a relationship and that honeymoon phase passes, what happens? You don't know how to communicate, right? You're gonna be hoping that the person makes you happily ever after. And it's not anybody's job to make you happy. Your happiness depends on you. It's on you to make yourself happy. And that is hard enough. So don't. Don't outsource your happiness to your partner. This is a sure way to get in conflict, and to it's delusional, really. So many of the songs like, oh, my life, depends on you, and all these romantic songs. Guys, that's not what love is about, right? What is love about? Love is when you're vulnerable, when you are honest, when you're raw, when you can express your feelings, when there's trust, when there's respect. So we are very in a very big beginning, in the taking baby steps in learning how to manage our emotions as adults. So no adults, most adults, maybe I want to say 15%, maybe 20% have a really healthy understanding of emotional intelligence, right? There's a whole field of emotional intelligence in EQ. So much for IQ, but how about EQ, right? So this is something that with the growth mindset, you can work on and you can improve your emotional quotient. And there are tests you can do online. But the main thing is to be aware of your emotions, being really honest and vulnerable, admit your faults, right? So these are things that take courage. Sometimes we don't want to admit that we are wrong and we want to be right. Sometimes being right, you end up being rightfully alone, right? So that's not what we want. We want to be able to say, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I hope to do better next time, and just be really honest what our fears are, what our dreams are with our partner. So that's a sure way to be honest and lay on the table and not play games, right? Just to be really honest. So who has the courage to take that step? Because what's in the way is fear. We are afraid because we are afraid to get hurt. So the very fear that makes us not do take the steps to be honest and vulnerable is the fear that's blocking our fulfillment, our happiness, our joy. So I want to share something with you guys. That's my very favorite thing that helped me move away from being stuck in emotional negative states in my life, in my relationships, and broke all those patterns and broke all the boxes. And so can you. So I want to show you here. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you a map of consciousness. Check this out. Just bear with me for a second while I find this thing. So this is my screen, and this is the map of consciousness from Dr. Hawkins. Let's see if it comes up. Coming up. There you go. Here you go. So map of consciousness from Dr. David Hawkins. This is the map, guys. So if you have trouble with emotions, you don't know how to express your emotions, you feel yourself stuck in negative emotions, you have no idea of how to get in touch with your emotions, this is a map. Oh, it doesn't look very sharp here. It's very low resolution, it turns out. Let me see what we can do with this. Not super sharp. So I don't know if you can see, these are different levels of emotions, right? On the very bottom here, according to Dr. David Hawkins, he had 50 years of working in clinical practice as a psychiatrist. And he was the most prolific, one of the most successful in his field. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but he used to live in Sedona at the end of his life and wrote many books. One of them, Power versus Force, another one, Truth versus Falsehood, and Eye of the Eye, and so on. One really good one to start is called Letting Go from Dr. David Hawkins. But to the map of consciousness, this is how to understand emotions, guys, the levels and different levels of emotions. So as you can see, power and force here. So at the very low, he calibrates, he delineates, like designated some numbers, right, according to muscle testing, to certain emotions. So each emotion resonates a certain level of vibration. So at the very bottom, when you're in the very bottom, is shame. When you're shame and humiliation, right, you're feeling miserable. Okay, you're in despair. So that's in the very, very bottom. You're calibrating at 20. To be healthy, we need to calibrate at 200 and above. You see the line? So 200 and above are positive, life-affirming, awesome emotions. That's gonna make you successful, fulfilled, and all that. Okay, so we have to calibrate at 200 and above. But what happens is negative emotions, right, resonate at 20, 30, guilt, vindictiveness, grief and despair, 50, 75, grief. This is not the best graph. I'll see if I can find another one, but you can Google also map of consciousness. And then you see anxiety and fears resonating at 100. So that's what I wanted to get to. So when we are afraid, when we're feeling fear, we tend to attract that what we are putting in. What we put out, that's what we get back, right? So we are at this level, we were emitting a signal, okay, an electromagnetic signal, okay, that can be muscle tested and verified where you are at on this map of consciousness in this emotional scale. So if you're resonating at the level of fear and anxiety, what happens is you're gonna magnetize, you're gonna attract, you're gonna bring into your existence other people and other situations that resonate with that, that are in the same symphony with that. Just like you're tuning in the dial on the radio. So if you want to feel fulfilled, if you want to feel, as you can see here, love calibrating at a 500, and joy and peace 500. So you have to raise, right, your consciousness. It's a map of consciousness. It has to do with the emotions that you feel. And the emotions that we feel, they have a lot to do with the thoughts that we think. So starting with your thoughts, guys, working at the level of your thoughts. That's where the work is at. And the number one concept that we need to grasp before we can really master our thoughts and therefore our emotions and therefore our reality is that we are not our thoughts. The thoughts that we think are not who we are. They're separate. So when you can dissociate from your thoughts, so you observe your thoughts, you detach from your thoughts, and you can observe your thoughts as separate from you, then you have control of your thoughts, of your emotions, and how you react, right? Instead of react, you respond to life. Instead of react, you respond to life. So if you ever feel envious, jealous, um, sometimes we can feel uh, disdain and despair or depression, anxiety, and all those negative effects, all those negative emotions, is because we are married to our thoughts. And these thoughts, they're not really who we are. We have to raise above, right, the level of 200. Okay, so grasping this concept is the very beginning. If you don't understand this, there is no chance that you're just gonna do it by chance. So this is the very first step. What's the next step? The next step is to work with a coach. Okay, I am a mindset coach. There are several people in the world that do this kind of work, and I didn't know that. I felt like I was alone with my fear, with my anxiety, with my depression. So I didn't know. It took me a long time to realize, there's help. There's people that, specialize in this. And that's what they love to do. So I have worked with many clients. I am very grateful to be able to do this work and serve in this way to help people move up the emotional scale, find the mindset where they can achieve things, achieve their goals, focus their mindset on achieving goals instead of being stuck in negative emotions and breaking those patterns. Okay, so this is very possible for you and create the life that you want, guys. If you had any idea where I came from, the family that I came from, the economic situation that I came from, the country that I came from, and all that, it's like I blew past all those paradigms, right? And so can you, and I can help you do that. So everything is possible. It's possible for you to be fulfilled. It's possible for you to have a job that you love. It's possible for you to have the relationship that you love, but you can't just wish for it. You have to work for it. You have to do the internal work, the outside work. You have to mind your thoughts, your nutrition, your fitness. You have to mind who you're with. You have to mind what you're watching and what you're consuming, what you're focusing on. So that's why you need a coach. And I have several coaches. I've been working with coaches all over the world. Les Brown, I don't know if you guys are a motivational speaker. I work with Kevin Harrington. He's like a shark at the Shark Tank. and he helps with my business, with the sales. Like, how do you have to, if you don't know something, you have to find a coach and learn, like learn how to speak, learn how to have great nutrition and supplements. Like, how do I improve my nutrition, my hydration? How do I make, how do I take better care of my finances? And how do I have better relationships? How do I manage my emotions? This is what we should be focusing on improving ourselves and loving ourselves, and not so much on the fear story that's outside, right? That is being imposed by the media, the story of fear and scarcity and disease and pandemic. You know what? I think we need to kind of like look away from that and really focus on improving yourself, improving your life, and giving more and loving more, and staying on the path of fulfillment, of growth, and of contribution. So if you have any questions, if you like what you see, please leave me a comment. If you could share this with somebody, that would be great. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. I have a website at adelitamontero.com, and I'd love to connect with you soon. Ciao.